Today we journey into the captivating world of Cleopatra, one of history's most powerful and graceful leaders. Her legacy has transcended time, but in this video we focus on something often overlooked: the daily rituals that shaped her leadership and influenced the course of history. Picture the serene mornings of an ancient queen, where each moment was carefully crafted to set the tone for a day of monumental decisions. We'll explore Cleopatra's morning routine, a timeless blueprint for leadership that continues to inspire. Now, let's step into the ancient world of Cleopatra, where grace, power, and wisdom began with the very first moments of the day. Cleopatra, the name alone, conjures up images of ancient Egypt, grand palaces, and the allure of a woman whose influence spanned centuries. But let's take a moment to step beyond the myths and the glamour. Cleopatra was more than just a queen with a captivating smile and a legendary love story. She was one of history's most brilliant leaders, a master of strategy, diplomacy, and, perhaps most intriguingly, self-discipline. Her reign over Egypt during one of the most turbulent periods in history is nothing short of remarkable. While many rulers of her time were content to rest on the laurels of their inheritance, Cleopatra built her power through an extraordinary combination of intelligence, charm, and, yes, some pretty clever daily habits. But what exactly made her such a formidable leader? Why is Cleopatra still regarded as one of the greatest rulers of all time? Well, it wasn't just her political alliances with men like Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. It wasn't just her unparalleled ability to command an empire in a man's world. It was her understanding of something we often overlook today: the importance of personal routines in shaping one's leadership. You see, Cleopatra knew that true power wasn't just about what happened in the throne room or the battlefield. It was about how she started each day, how she prepared herself, both physically and mentally, for the immense responsibilities that came with leading an empire. In a world where everything around her could be in chaos, her daily routines became a foundation of strength, balance, and clarity. A queen's routine may sound simple, but for someone with her level of influence, every moment mattered. And the more we explore her morning rituals, the more we realize just how much they shaped the leader she became. Cleopatra's legacy wasn't just about the big decisions she made. It was about how she prepared herself to make them. Every choice she made, every step she took in those early hours, became the secret to her power, grace, and leadership. To understand why Cleopatra's daily routine was so crucial to her leadership, we first need to take a step back and look at the world she ruled. Ancient Egypt during Cleopatra's reign was a land of great contrasts. On one hand, it was a civilization with a rich cultural history, home to towering monuments and a deep connection to the gods. On the other hand, it was a kingdom facing internal strife, external threats, and political intrigue. When Cleopatra took the throne in 51 BCE, Egypt was in a precarious position. The Ptolemaic dynasty to which she belonged had been in power for nearly 3 centuries, but they were losing their grip. Cleopatra was not only up against the challenge of maintaining power within Egypt, but also contending with the growing influence of Rome, which was starting to cast a long shadow over the entire Mediterranean. It wasn't just about surviving the political storm, it was about steering her kingdom through turbulent waters. The political and social environment in Egypt at the time was also complicated. Despite the grandeur of the Egyptian empire, Egypt had seen a series of weak rulers who were often caught up in palace intrigue, which left the people disillusioned and the economy struggling. In fact, Egypt had become a bit of a political battleground, with rival factions vying for control. It was in this context that Cleopatra, a young woman at the time, found herself thrust into leadership. Now, imagine trying to keep everything together under such pressure, balancing foreign diplomacy with Rome, managing political factions within your own court, and maintaining the loyalty of your people. It's no small feat. And this is where Cleopatra's personal routines come into play. Her routines weren't just about self-care or indulgence, they were a strategic tool. In a time when the political landscape was constantly shifting, having a steady, consistent approach to her day gave Cleopatra the clarity and focus she needed to make decisions that would affect the fate of an entire nation. Think about it. When your world is constantly moving, When you're surrounded by political chaos and you're trying to stay one step ahead, having a calm, well-structured morning could be the difference between making a snap decision based on emotion or taking a moment to think critically. It's not just about what happens in the throne room, it's about how a leader centers themselves before stepping into it. Cleopatra understood that a ruler's state of mind has a direct impact on how they lead their people. Her morning routines didn't just set the tone for her day, they set the tone for the entire kingdom. They were her way of preparing herself to face the pressure, the politics, and the people with grace and control. And in the context of such an unstable world, that steadiness was key. There's a saying that goes, "How you start your day is how you spend your day." For Cleopatra, this wasn't just a catchphrase, it was a way of life. In the high-stakes world of ancient Egypt, where political power could shift in the blink of an eye, Cleopatra knew that the first moments of the day were vital. How she woke up, what she focused on, and how she prepared herself physically and mentally all had a direct impact on her ability to rule with strength and clarity. Let's imagine it. The first rays of sunlight spilling through the grand windows of her palace, the soft sounds of the Nile flowing nearby, and Cleopatra already awake, quietly beginning her day. For a woman with so many demands on her time, her morning rituals were not just indulgences, they were critical to keeping her grounded and focused. Cleopatra understood something that many of us still struggle with today: the importance of setting a positive tone for the day ahead. Imagine waking up to chaos, immediately diving into politics, or rushing to a series of stressful meetings. It's exhausting, right? Well, Cleopatra knew that her mornings needed to be purposeful, moments of calm and clarity before she dove into the whirlwind of ruling a kingdom. Her morning rituals likely included moments of reflection, quiet contemplation, and perhaps some light physical activity to get her body moving. And while we don't have all the details, it's safe to assume that Cleopatra made time to connect with her surroundings, whether it was through a brief meditation or simply taking in the peace of the morning. Starting her day with these calm, intentional moments helped her maintain the focus needed to make big decisions later. It's funny, really, how something as simple as the start of the day can shape everything that comes after it. Ever had one of those mornings where you wake up late, spill your coffee, and feel like the whole day's just off? Imagine how different it would be if you had a quiet space, even just for a few minutes to collect your thoughts. That's exactly what Cleopatra gave herself each morning, a moment to reset and focus before the chaos of the day could take over. These rituals, though seemingly small, had a massive impact. They allowed her to control her emotions, boost her mental clarity, and maintain the composure needed to make decisions that would shape the future of Egypt. Leaders today still know this truth. How you start the day can affect how you face challenges, handle pressure, and interact with others. So, while Cleopatra might not have been sipping coffee like we do, she certainly understood the importance of creating a routine that aligned her mind and body for success. She knew that if she wanted to conquer the challenges of her day, she had to first conquer the quiet moments of her morning. Cleopatra didn't just wake up and jump straight into the chaos of ruling an empire. No, she understood something many leaders fail to grasp. Before you can conquer the world, you first need to conquer your own mind. And what better way to do that than with a little morning meditation? Now, we don't have detailed records of Cleopatra sitting cross-legged on a mat chanting mantras, but it's not hard to imagine her practicing some form of quiet reflection. After all, this was a woman who had to navigate treacherous politics, manage an entire kingdom, and influence the most powerful men in Rome, all before breakfast. In the peaceful solitude of the early morning, Cleopatra likely spent some time calming her mind, reflecting on the events of the previous day, and mentally preparing for the decisions that awaited her. It wasn't just about finding inner peace. It was about sharpening her focus and clearing the mental clutter. Imagine trying to make decisions with 1,000 thoughts running through your head. Would you be as clear and decisive as you'd like to be? Probably not. But with a quiet moment of meditation, Cleopatra could center herself and approach the day's challenges with clarity. Meditation has this magical ability to quiet the storm inside our heads. For someone in Cleopatra's position, who faced constant pressure and uncertainty, having those moments of peace would have been essential. It wasn't just about relaxation. It was about giving her mind the space it needed to think clearly and make sound decisions. In her case, these moments of calmness likely allowed her to navigate political alliances, military strategies, and diplomatic talks with much more poise than if she had jumped into the day in a rush. The beauty of meditation is that it doesn't require a lot of time, but the benefits can last all day. Cleopatra knew that a well-balanced mind was the key to making decisions that affected the lives of thousands, sometimes even millions. A clear, calm mind allows for better judgment, stronger leadership, and the ability to remain level-headed when everything around you seems like it's about to explode. In the fast-paced world of ancient Egypt, Cleopatra needed every advantage she could get. And by incorporating meditation into her morning routine, she not only set the tone for her day, but she also gave herself the mental edge to lead with wisdom and grace. Cleopatra was not just a queen who commanded armies and negotiated with powerful leaders. She was a master of the art of self-presentation. And no, this isn't about vanity. It's about power, control, and the subtle art of using appearance as a tool for leadership. In ancient Egypt, as in many parts of the world today, how you presented yourself could speak volumes before you even said a word. For Cleopatra, her physical appearance wasn't just about looking good, although, let's be honest, she certainly knew how to do that. It was a reflection of her strength, discipline, and control over her environment. After all, how could you expect people to follow someone who didn't seem to care about how they carried themselves? It's the little details that matter. We can imagine Cleopatra's grooming routine as a series of deliberate, calculated steps, because she had an image to maintain, and not just for her own satisfaction. Each morning, before stepping into the public eye or holding court, Cleopatra would have carefully curated her appearance. Her hair, makeup, and attire would have been chosen with a purpose, each element crafted to enhance her regal presence and reinforce her authority. The Queen of Egypt was known for her impeccable style, and we can picture her in her private chambers, applying kohl around her eyes to create that iconic look, and perhaps draping herself in the finest linens or royal robes. She was not just dressing for comfort or beauty. She was dressing for power. Cleopatra understood that appearance is not only a reflection of personal style, but also a way to assert dominance and confidence. A leader who looked the part would inspire confidence in her subjects, allies, and even her enemies. But beyond the surface, personal grooming played an even deeper role in Cleopatra's leadership. Taking the time to care for herself physically was a way for her to demonstrate self-control and discipline. As a ruler, she knew that everything she did, from the smallest gesture to the most grandiose speech, sent a message. And by consistently maintaining her appearance, she was sending a message of strength, stability, and focus. This wasn't about being vain. It was about showing that she had the self-mastery required to lead. In a world filled with political intrigue, conspiracies, and power struggles, Cleopatra's grooming habits gave her an edge. She understood that how she presented herself could influence her position in the court and in the world. By looking poised and in control, she communicated to everyone around her that she was someone to be taken seriously, someone who held the reins of power with confidence and precision. So, while Cleopatra may have looked effortlessly regal, there was a lot of intentionality behind her morning routine. She knew that her grooming habits weren't just for herself. They were part of her leadership toolkit, a subtle yet powerful reminder that she was, without a doubt, the queen. If you've ever wondered what a queen eats to maintain the energy and focus needed to rule an empire, let's take a moment to imagine Cleopatra's diet. We're not talking about some extravagant feast of exotic delicacies every day. After all, she wasn't trying to survive on the luxury of her court's banquets. Cleopatra, much like any effective leader, needed to be sharp, clear-headed, and physically healthy. And what goes into the body has a lot to do with how well it functions, especially when you're managing an entire kingdom. While we don't have a detailed cookbook from Cleopatra herself, though wouldn't that be a treat, we can gather a pretty good idea of what her diet likely looked like, based on the food available in ancient Egypt and the reports from those who knew her. Cleopatra was known to enjoy the finest foods, but she also understood the importance of balance. It wasn't just about eating to fill her stomach. It was about fueling her mind and body for the long days ahead. Her diet probably included plenty of fresh fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, which were staples of the Egyptian diet. Think figs, dates, olives, and pomegranates. Nature's candy, but also packed with energy-boosting nutrients. She would likely have enjoyed fresh fish, which was abundant in the Nile, providing protein for muscle strength and stamina. And don't forget about the herbs and spices, garlic, onions, and mint, not only adding flavour, but also offering medicinal benefits. These foods would have been part of her wellness routine, helping to keep her healthy and alert as she made decisions that shaped the fate of Egypt. But Cleopatra wasn't just about eating healthy. She also understood the importance of hydration. The Nile, flowing majestically through her land, would have been a constant source of water for her and her people. We can imagine her sipping cool, refreshing drinks throughout the day, perhaps water infused with herbs or fruits, keeping her hydrated and ready to face whatever challenges came her way. Now, imagine being the queen of a powerful civilization, balancing alliances, internal politics, and the pressures of the world stage. You can't afford to feel sluggish or drained by mid-morning. A leader needs stamina, mental clarity, and the physical vitality to meet with advisors, make quick decisions, and take action when necessary. Cleopatra's balanced diet, full of the nutrients needed for both body and mind, ensured that she remained at her best, no matter the challenges that came her way. And let's not forget the role of wellness beyond just food. Cleopatra was likely aware that a good diet was only part of the equation. Exercise, rest, and mental relaxation were essential to her well-being. The right combination of food, physical activity, and self-care meant she could withstand the intense pressures of leadership. In a world where every decision mattered, being physically fit and mentally sharp was as important as any political alliance. So, Cleopatra's diet wasn't just about looking good. It was about sustaining the energy, focus, and resilience needed to lead an empire. It's a reminder that even in the modern world, leaders, whether in ancient Egypt or the boardroom, can't underestimate the power of a balanced diet in maintaining peak performance. In the hustle and bustle of ruling an empire, it's easy to forget the simple power of nature, but not Cleopatra. For a leader like her, who had to navigate the complexities of politics, diplomacy, and war, nature was more than just a backdrop. It was a source of balance and calm. Cleopatra's connection with the natural world was deeply intertwined with her leadership style. Imagine her waking up early, taking a quiet moment by the Nile, the river that had sustained Egypt for centuries. The sound of the water flowing gently would have been a soothing reminder of the deep connection between Egypt's power and the land itself. The great river wasn't just a geographical feature, it was the lifeblood of her kingdom, and Cleopatra understood that by spending time with it, she reconnected with her people's roots. Cleopatra didn't just live in the palace. She spent time outdoors, surrounded by the beauty of the land she ruled. From the lush gardens of her royal residence to the serene shores of the Nile, nature offered her a retreat from the pressures of the throne room. It's easy to picture her strolling through these gardens, letting the cool breeze from the river brush against her skin, allowing herself to reset before diving into the next great decision of her day. This time, outdoors was more than just an escape. It was a tool for leadership. Being in nature, away from the noise of court politics, gave Cleopatra the clarity she needed to remain grounded. There's something uniquely calming about the outdoors, the rustling leaves, the chirping of birds, the vast sky above, that allows the mind to relax, giving space for reflection and fresh perspectives. For a ruler faced with constant demands, having access to these quiet moments was crucial for keeping her mind clear and focused. Cleopatra wasn't just soaking up the natural beauty for relaxation. She was tapping into a wisdom that nature offered. Just like how the ancient Egyptians revered the gods who were represented by natural forces, Ra, the sun god, or Isis, the goddess of nature, Cleopatra understood the power of aligning herself with the rhythms of the earth. It's no wonder that she felt so at home with the land. After all, as queen, she was both the political and spiritual guardian of Egypt. Spending time outside also allowed Cleopatra to maintain a sense of perspective. It's easy to become consumed by the intensity of leadership, but by stepping outside and immersing herself in nature's calming presence, she was able to find balance. This balance translated into her leadership. She didn't just react to situations, she took the time to process and reflect, allowing her decisions to be grounded in wisdom rather than rash impulses. So, while Cleopatra's court may have been full of intrigue, strategy, and high-stakes decisions, she understood that true power came from moments of stillness and connection to something greater than herself. Nature offered her a reminder that even in the chaos of leadership, there is always space for peace and clarity. Before she sat on her throne or made any monumental decisions, Cleopatra likely started her mornings with a book. Yes, while most of us might reach for our phones first thing, Cleopatra reached for ancient scrolls and texts filled with wisdom, history, and strategy. She knew that knowledge was not just power, it was the foundation upon which her entire rule rested. Reading was an essential part of Cleopatra's morning routine, and it wasn't just about leisure. In fact, her reading material probably ranged from philosophy and literature to military strategy and political treatises. She understood that a well-rounded leader needed to stay informed, whether it was about the latest developments in the world of science or the intricacies of Roman politics. To remain in control of her empire, she needed to constantly feed her mind with new ideas and perspectives. But why is reading so important, especially for a leader like Cleopatra? Well, imagine the weight of making decisions that could change the course of history. If you're facing a major political dilemma or trying to negotiate a treaty with Rome, the last thing you want is to make a decision based on limited knowledge. Cleopatra knew that by reading, she could expand her understanding of the world, sharpen her strategic thinking, and gain insights that would ultimately help her navigate the ever-shifting political landscape. One can easily picture Cleopatra early in the morning, sitting in a quiet chamber, the dim light of dawn filtering through the windows as she pores over a scroll. Perhaps she's reading works on military tactics, learning from the great generals of history. Or maybe she's exploring the philosophical writings of Egypt's scholars, contemplating the deeper meanings of leadership and wisdom. Whatever she chose, this daily ritual was more than just a mental exercise. It was a way to fortify her mind for the challenges ahead. In fact, many of her political strategies may have been inspired by the ideas and concepts she absorbed during these reading sessions. Cleopatra was no ordinary monarch. She was not only a skilled diplomat and politician, but she was also a thinker. Her intellect allowed her to adapt quickly to changing circumstances, and her readings likely gave her the tools to make calculated decisions that kept Egypt powerful and relevant on the world stage. By incorporating reading into her morning routine, Cleopatra was laying the groundwork for her leadership each day. It wasn't just about gathering information, it was about honing the ability to think critically, to learn from the past, and to apply that knowledge to the present. A leader who reads is a leader who prepares, and Cleopatra was nothing if not prepared. Her morning reading wasn't just a way to pass the time, it was a crucial part of how she shaped the direction of Egypt. And in a world where every decision mattered, having that strong foundation of knowledge made all the difference. When you're the queen of a powerful empire, time is one thing you can't afford to waste. Yet somehow, Cleopatra always seemed to manage it with grace. Between dealing with the intricacies of palace politics, attending diplomatic meetings, and keeping a close eye on military affairs, it would be easy to imagine her schedule overflowing with constant demands. But Cleopatra understood something that many of us still struggle with today: the art of time management. One of the secrets to her leadership success was her ability to structure her day, ensuring she had time for everything, from the big, world-changing decisions to the smaller, more personal moments that kept her grounded. Think about it. A leader like Cleopatra didn't just have a calendar of appointments. She had to juggle personal meetings with her advisors, diplomatic missions with Roman emissaries, and ceremonial duties at the palace, all while maintaining a close connection to the people of Egypt. How did she keep it all together? By mastering her time. We can imagine Cleopatra's day beginning early, after her morning rituals and meditation. She would probably spend the first few hours focused on reading and reflecting, absorbing new ideas and gathering the wisdom she needed for her day. But soon enough, her advisors would arrive. Cleopatra was known to hold regular meetings with her council, where she would listen intently to their advice, discuss strategies, and make crucial decisions about the future of Egypt. Her meetings, while likely intense and full of important matters, were probably structured with precision. Cleopatra wasn't the type to let time slip away. She knew that every hour mattered, and that the key to maintaining control over her empire was not just in the big decisions, but in how she managed the small moments too. Having a solid schedule meant she could stay on top of her responsibilities without becoming overwhelmed. And it wasn't just meetings. Cleopatra also made time for the royal ceremonies that were part of her public image. From grand processions to important speeches, these events weren't just ceremonial, they were strategic. By managing her time effectively, Cleopatra ensured that she was present for her people, reinforcing her image as a strong, involved leader. The beauty of Cleopatra's time management wasn't just about being busy, it was about being purposeful. She knew when to focus on state matters, when to retreat for personal time, and when to engage with her advisors or the public. She didn't waste time on trivial matters or let the distractions of court life sidetrack her. Instead, she made every moment count, allowing her to stay sharp and decisive in the face of the countless challenges that came with ruling Egypt. It's easy to think that great leaders have all the time in the world to make decisions, but the reality is often the opposite. The best leaders know how to manage their time, ensuring that every action they take is aligned with their long-term goals. For Cleopatra, time management wasn't just about filling her schedule. It was about creating space for the decisions that would shape history. Her mastery of time allowed her to lead with both efficiency and purpose, making her not just a queen, but a true visionary. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, Cleopatra's mornings weren't just filled with quiet reflection and personal grooming. No, she had important matters to attend to, and those matters required the sharpest minds by her side. Before the world fully awakened, before the court buzzed with activity, Cleopatra would gather her most trusted advisors for early morning meetings that set the stage for the day's decisions. Imagine her, seated at the head of a grand table, surrounded by scholars, military leaders, and key members of her council, all eager to discuss the pressing matters of the day. These early meetings were not just about exchanging information, they were strategic sessions where Cleopatra's wisdom and leadership were on full display. It's likely that these discussions weren't rushed, they were carefully orchestrated, designed to get to the heart of the matter without wasting a second. Cleopatra was a woman who knew the value of surrounding herself with brilliant minds. Her advisors weren't just there to agree with her, they were there to challenge her, to provide different perspectives, and to help shape the best possible course of action. But while the discussions may have been heated or intense at times, Cleopatra's ability to listen, process, and then lead with confidence made these meetings productive and effective. One of the key elements of Cleopatra's early morning meetings was her ability to manage the conversation. She knew that the best decisions came from a well-rounded view of the situation. So, rather than dominating the conversation, she likely encouraged an open exchange of ideas, allowing each advisor to share their insights. It was a strategic move. By creating an environment where people felt comfortable contributing, Cleopatra could ensure she was getting the most relevant and thoughtful input. But it wasn't just about listening. It was about how Cleopatra processed that information. She wasn't just absorbing advice. She was analyzing it, weighing the potential risks, and determining how each piece of advice fit into the broader puzzle of ruling an empire. Her ability to think critically and strategically was key to her success. She understood that the best leaders don't just make decisions, they make informed, well-thought-out decisions that take into account the long-term consequences. These early morning discussions weren't just about tactics, they were about preparing for the future, whether it was a military strategy, a diplomatic move, or a decision about how to maintain her power. Cleopatra's approach was always calculated. She didn't rely on intuition alone. She relied on wisdom, analysis, and a deep understanding of the world around her. What made Cleopatra so effective in these discussions was her ability to balance wisdom with action. She didn't just get caught up in theoretical debates. She knew when to make a decision and move forward. And perhaps most importantly, she knew how to bring people together, uniting her advisors under a common goal, and making sure everyone was aligned with the vision she had for Egypt. In the quiet hours before the court became a whirlwind of activity, Cleopatra was laying the foundation for the day's decisions, and these early morning meetings with her advisors were the cornerstone of her leadership, where strategy, wisdom, and collaboration came together to shape the future of Egypt. When it comes to leadership, sometimes the most powerful tool you have isn't your words, it's your silence. Cleopatra, though renowned for her wit and charm, understood the art of speaking less and saying more. She didn't need to fill every moment with chatter or unnecessary words. Instead, her communication was carefully crafted, deliberate, and impactful. Think about it. As the ruler of an empire, Cleopatra was surrounded by people, advisors, diplomats, generals, and even foreign powers, who were constantly vying for her attention. In this world of endless conversation, Cleopatra's approach was refreshingly strategic. She didn't feel the need to speak for the sake of speaking. Instead, she spoke when it mattered and let silence do the work when needed. Her ability to communicate with precision, choosing her words carefully, was one of her greatest strengths. Imagine being in her presence. Every word she spoke would have carried weight, every sentence crafted to ensure her message was understood clearly. She knew that the power of a leader isn't just in speaking, but in knowing when to say something and, just as importantly, when not to say anything at all. Silence, when used effectively, can be just as compelling as any speech. Cleopatra understood this instinctively. She would often leave pauses in conversation, letting her silence hold the room, creating space for others to reflect, think, and sometimes even reveal more than they intended. This isn't just a tactic, it's a way to show confidence and control. The absence of words can often communicate authority far more effectively than the most eloquent speeches. This ability to use silence as a tool didn't just apply to her court conversations, it extended to her diplomatic relationships as well. Cleopatra was known to be an astute negotiator, often navigating tricky political waters with ease. By choosing her words carefully and knowing when to remain silent, she created a sense of mystery and power. Her silence gave her the time to think, observe, and most importantly, listen. As we all know, sometimes the best way to lead is to let others speak first. It's a common misconception that effective leaders must always be talking, leading discussions, and making themselves heard. But the truly wise leaders like Cleopatra know that their presence is felt even when they're silent. Her silence wasn't just the absence of noise, it was a tool she wielded with intention, creating a space for reflection, strategy, and control. By saying less, Cleopatra made every word she did speak matter even more. In a world where everyone seemed to have something to say, Cleopatra's silence was her most strategic form of communication. It allowed her to maintain control of situations, to reflect, and to let others reveal what was truly on their minds. The power of silence, after all, is not just in its absence. It's in its ability to shape the narrative and guide the flow of conversations. In a world where power is often defined by wealth, military might, and political savvy, Cleopatra understood something that many leaders miss: the subtle yet powerful influence of beauty and art. While her political strategies and diplomatic alliances were crucial, Cleopatra also knew that a well-timed piece of art, a beautifully composed piece of music, or the splendor of her royal court could speak volumes and shape the hearts and minds of her people. Cleopatra wasn't just a ruler, she was also a patron of the arts. Her court was likely filled with poets, musicians, and artists, all contributing to an environment where creativity and beauty were celebrated. But this wasn't about luxury for the sake of luxury. No. Cleopatra understood that art had the power to communicate messages that words alone could not convey. Whether it was through the visual magnificence of her palace, the music that echoed through the halls, or the carefully crafted symbols in her public appearances, Cleopatra used beauty to inspire loyalty, admiration, and even fear. Imagine stepping into her court. Everywhere you look, there would be vibrant paintings, intricate sculptures, and exquisite tapestries that told the story of Egypt's glory. These artworks weren't just decorative, they were a constant reminder of the strength, history and legacy of Cleopatra's reign. By surrounding herself with such beauty, Cleopatra was able to elevate her own image, connecting herself with the greatness of Egypt and the divine powers that ruled over the land. But it wasn't just about creating a lavish setting for herself. Cleopatra knew that beauty and art could build relationships. Music, for example, played a pivotal role in her reign. She likely hosted grand banquets where the sounds of Egyptian melodies filled the air, creating an atmosphere of harmony and unity. Music has this magical ability to bring people together, and Cleopatra understood its power to forge bonds with those around her. Whether she was welcoming foreign dignitaries or strengthening alliances with her own people, the music and art surrounding her helped to shape the tone of those interactions. Art also had a political purpose. Cleopatra used her own image as a tool of power. Her portraits, often featuring her with symbols of divine power, such as the serpent of Isis or the royal diadem, were designed not just for beauty but to convey authority. She knew that her image in the form of sculpture, coinage and paintings would be seen across her empire and beyond, sending a powerful message about her divine right to rule. It was art that portrayed her as both a ruler of Egypt and a goddess, a symbol of power, wisdom and grace. But it wasn't just about the grand, public displays of art. Cleopatra used beauty in more personal ways as well, creating intimate connections through the arts. It's said that she was an accomplished musician herself, playing instruments like the harp and the flute. Perhaps during her private moments, music provided a way for her to reflect and reconnect with herself. And in her private meetings with advisors or leaders, a carefully chosen piece of music or a work of art could set the tone, influencing those around her without a single word. In the end, Cleopatra knew that art wasn't just something to be admired. It was a tool that could be wielded to influence, to inspire, and to lead. By surrounding herself with beauty, she didn't just make her court a more pleasant place to be. She turned art into a silent language of power, communication, and connection. Through the arts, Cleopatra not only shaped her image, but also shaped the very hearts and minds of those around her, weaving beauty into the fabric of her leadership. In the whirlwind of ruling an empire, it's easy to imagine Cleopatra as someone who never stopped moving, constantly meeting with advisors, strategizing with military leaders, and navigating complex political alliances. But here's something we often overlook. Cleopatra, like all great leaders, knew the importance of sleep. Yes, sleep. The thing we all love, but sometimes sacrifice when life gets hectic. But Cleopatra, with all her responsibilities and the heavy crown on her head, understood that a well-rested mind was a sharp mind. A leader who didn't sleep well was a leader who made mistakes, who lacked clarity, and who risked making decisions that weren't in the best interest of their kingdom. While we don't have detailed records of Cleopatra's nightly routine, she wasn't exactly keeping a 3,000-year-old sleep journal. It's safe to assume that she, like any wise leader, knew the value of rest. In fact, it's believed that Cleopatra would have had some time carved out each night for rest, ensuring that her mind and body were prepared for another full day of governance. Why was sleep so crucial for Cleopatra? Let's break it down. As the ruler of Egypt, she faced pressures that most of us can't even begin to imagine. She had to make decisions that affected the future of her kingdom, handle diplomatic tensions with the Roman Empire, and manage the intricate affairs of her court. Without sufficient sleep, her ability to think critically, plan ahead, and manage these high-stakes situations would have been compromised. Sleep plays a huge role in mental health and decision-making. It helps reduce stress, improve focus, and enhance memory, all of which are essential for a leader facing constant challenges. For Cleopatra, sleep wasn't just a luxury, it was a tool of leadership. It allowed her to wake up each morning with a clear mind, ready to tackle whatever the day had in store. We often think of leaders as tireless figures who power through long days and nights, but the reality is, some of the best decisions are made after a good night's rest. Cleopatra knew that a well-rested mind was more decisive, more efficient, and more attuned to the needs of her kingdom. When you're well-rested, you can think strategically, see the big picture, and make choices that reflect long-term goals rather than short-term exhaustion. And, let's be honest, Leaders who don't sleep well are often a little cranky. We've all had those days when we're running on too little sleep, feeling irritable, distracted, and unable to think clearly. Now, imagine having the fate of a kingdom on your shoulders, with countless advisors, soldiers, and citizens looking to you for guidance. Cleopatra needed to be at her best, and that meant giving her body and mind the rest they deserved. Sleep also has this magical ability to foster creativity. After a good night's rest, ideas flow more freely, and solutions to complex problems often appear with surprising clarity. Cleopatra, no doubt, needed that creativity to navigate the complex political web she was constantly entangled in. Whether it was a diplomatic strategy, a military decision, or the delicate balancing of relationships with powerful Roman leaders, sleep would have given her the mental rejuvenation needed to stay sharp and make wise decisions. In the end, Cleopatra's understanding of sleep wasn't just about rest. It was about being an effective, clear-headed leader. She knew that, to make the tough decisions, to inspire loyalty, and to lead her kingdom with wisdom, sleep was just as important as any military strategy or diplomatic move. After all, even the greatest of queens need their beauty sleep. When we think of Cleopatra, we might envision her in opulent robes, holding court with great dignitaries, or having deep conversations about Egypt's future with the likes of Julius Caesar or Mark Antony. But here's something we don't often consider. Cleopatra, despite her royal status and responsibilities, was likely very mindful of keeping herself physically fit. Being a leader isn't just about mental prowess or strategic thinking. It's about having the energy and physical stamina to handle the weight of constant decisions and the pressure of leadership. Cleopatra understood that. After all, ruling an empire required more than just a sharp mind. It also required a strong body to endure long days filled with meetings, negotiations, and the occasional military campaign. While there's no concrete record of Cleopatra's personal exercise routine, the ancient Egyptians didn't have fitness trackers after all. It's likely that she engaged in some form of physical activity to keep her body as strong as her mind. The Egyptian court was often bustling with activity, and Cleopatra probably took advantage of the natural environment around her. Whether it was swimming in the Nile or walking through her palace gardens, physical activity would have been a part of her daily life. Exercise has long been recognized for its benefits to mental health, and Cleopatra was no exception. By keeping her body in good shape, she ensured that her energy levels were high, and she had the stamina to make it through even the most demanding days. After all, a queen who's running on empty isn't going to make the best decisions. Physical activity helps to improve circulation, increase endorphins, and reduce stress. And these benefits would have been especially important for someone like Cleopatra, who had to stay sharp amidst constant political maneuvering and the weight of a kingdom on her shoulders. But the impact of exercise wasn't just physical for Cleopatra, it was mental as well. Exercise, especially activities like walking, swimming, or perhaps archery or riding horses, helps to clear the mind and sharpen focus. For Cleopatra, maintaining her fitness wasn't just about looking good in her royal garments. It was about having the mental clarity to make decisions, the strength to withstand long hours, and the resilience to keep pushing forward through any challenges. Think of it this way. If Cleopatra hadn't been physically strong, would she have been able to handle the pressure of leading Egypt through its complex relationships with Rome? Would she have had the mental fortitude to navigate her personal relationships with such tact? Physical fitness helped her maintain the energy she needed to stay in control, both of her body and her empire. In a way, Cleopatra's fitness routine was a reflection of her leadership style. Balanced, intentional, and always aware of the long-term impact of her choices. She understood that in order to be a truly great leader, she needed to take care of herself, not just intellectually and emotionally, but physically as well. When the body and mind work together, a leader is unstoppable, and Cleopatra no doubt was just that. Amidst the grand events, the political maneuvering, and the constant demands of ruling an empire, Cleopatra understood the importance of taking a step back. She wasn't always caught up in the frenzy of her court or the noise of diplomacy. In fact, one of her greatest strengths as a leader was her ability to carve out time for personal reflection, those quiet moments when she could think, process, and plan. After the hustle and bustle of the day had settled, Cleopatra would have likely spent some time alone, reflecting on the events that had unfolded. Whether it was walking through the peaceful gardens of her palace or sitting by the Nile, these moments were crucial for her to clear her mind and prepare for what was to come. In these times of introspection, Cleopatra would have reviewed the decisions she made, the interactions she had, and the challenges she faced. This wasn't about regret or second-guessing. It was about gaining insight and clarity. Reflection allowed Cleopatra to assess what went well and what didn't, helping her recalibrate and adapt for the future. A successful leader doesn't just make decisions in the heat of the moment. They think about them, learn from them, and adjust accordingly. Cleopatra knew that the key to her success wasn't just in reacting to the present, but in reflecting on the past to shape a better tomorrow. The act of reflection was also a powerful way for Cleopatra to maintain her emotional balance. Ruling an empire isn't just about strategic decisions. It's about managing the weight of responsibility, the personal relationships, and the internal conflicts that arise from being in such a position of power. By reflecting on her experiences, Cleopatra could release the emotional clutter that might otherwise cloud her judgment. She could find calm in the midst of chaos and clarity amidst complexity. In these private moments, she also had the space to realign her goals and refine her vision for Egypt's future. Cleopatra wasn't just planning for the next battle or the next diplomatic meeting. She was constantly shaping the long-term direction of her kingdom. Her introspection allowed her to keep sight of her grand vision while managing the everyday decisions that kept her empire running smoothly. It's easy to imagine Cleopatra sitting quietly in the evening, looking out over the Nile, thinking deeply about the future. What alliances needed to be strengthened? How could she better serve the people of Egypt? What steps could she take to secure her place in history? This time wasn't just about personal peace. It was about preparing herself to lead with purpose and wisdom. In a way, Cleopatra's personal reflection time was the cornerstone of her leadership. It allowed her to recharge mentally, process the complexity of her world, and approach challenges with a clearer mind. By taking the time to reflect, she ensured that her decisions were not only strategic, but also informed by experience and insight. It's a reminder that great leaders don't just act. They pause, reflect, and think about the bigger picture. Cleopatra wasn't just a master of political strategy or diplomacy. She was also an avid learner, constantly seeking knowledge to strengthen her position as a leader. In a world where wisdom was often passed down through the ages in scrolls, teachings, and oral traditions, Cleopatra understood that education wasn't just a luxury. It was a necessity. Knowledge, after all, is a powerful tool for any leader, and Cleopatra wielded it like a sharp sword. It's well known that Cleopatra was fluent in several languages, including Greek and Egyptian, and she had a deep understanding of philosophy, literature, and science. She wasn't just content to rely on the knowledge of others. She took it upon herself to constantly learn, absorbing the wisdom of the greatest minds of her time. Whether she was studying the works of philosophers, learning about the natural world, or understanding the intricacies of political theory, Cleopatra knew that a leader must stay curious and always seek to expand their mind. Her commitment to education wasn't just about acquiring knowledge for the sake of learning. It was about applying that knowledge to her leadership. Cleopatra used what she learned to make informed decisions, whether it was about military tactics, governance, or diplomacy. She didn't just take advice at face value. She understood the context, the history, and the broader implications of every decision she made. Her ability to learn from the past, while keeping an eye on the future, was one of the key factors that allowed her to adapt to the changing political landscape of her time. In addition to personal study, Cleopatra also surrounded herself with scholars, scientists, and philosophers. The Library of Alexandria, one of the greatest centers of learning in the ancient world, was a place where some of the brightest minds gathered. Cleopatra took full advantage of this wealth of knowledge, drawing on the expertise of others to strengthen her rule. But she wasn't just a passive listener. She actively engaged with these scholars, asking questions, debating ideas, and using their knowledge to guide her decisions. This commitment to learning was also a reflection of Cleopatra's understanding that leadership is a constantly evolving skill. She knew that the world around her was always changing. New alliances, new threats, and new ideas were constantly emerging. A leader who stops learning is a leader who becomes irrelevant. By continually seeking knowledge, Cleopatra ensured that she remained adaptable, ready to face the challenges of her time with fresh insights and strategies. A leader who embraces education is one who can navigate uncertainty with confidence. Cleopatra's ability to learn from the world around her made her a more powerful, resilient leader. Whether she was studying military strategy, understanding the nuances of Roman politics, or gaining insight into the needs of her people, Cleopatra used her knowledge to stay ahead of the curve. In a world where knowledge was power, Cleopatra's dedication to education ensured that she had the tools to lead effectively, adapt to change, and secure Egypt's place in history. Her leadership wasn't just about the decisions she made in the moment. It was about the wisdom she accumulated over time, using her knowledge to shape a better future for her kingdom. For Cleopatra, ruling Egypt wasn't just a matter of political strategy and military strength. It was also deeply connected to her spirituality. In ancient Egypt, the gods were ever present, shaping every aspect of life from the grandest affairs of state to the simplest everyday moments. Cleopatra, like many leaders before her, understood that her relationship with the divine was central to her power and leadership. But unlike many rulers who merely paid lip service to the gods, Cleopatra's devotion was personal and profound. Her connection to the gods was not something that was simply part of her public image. It was a deeply ingrained part of her daily routine. She likely performed rituals and offered prayers to the gods, seeking their guidance and blessings. In ancient Egypt, these rituals were not only a way to honor the gods, they were a way to ensure the well-being of the nation and maintain cosmic balance. Cleopatra, as both a ruler and a divine figure, understood that her actions needed to be in harmony with the divine order of the universe. One of the most significant aspects of Cleopatra's spiritual practice was her connection to the goddess Isis, the mother goddess who represented wisdom, magic, and the ideal of feminine power. Cleopatra often associated herself with Isis, not just as a queen, but as a living embodiment of the goddess's qualities. This spiritual connection to Isis helped reinforce her status as a divinely chosen ruler, one who was not just a mortal queen, but a powerful spiritual force. Rituals involving offerings, prayers, and ceremonies would have been part of Cleopatra's daily routine. These rituals, though outwardly symbolic, were deeply meaningful to her. They provided a sense of order, a way to connect with something greater than herself, and a method of gaining inner peace amidst the chaos of ruling an empire. In a way, these spiritual practices gave Cleopatra the grounding she needed to face the constant challenges of leadership with calm and clarity. Cleopatra didn't just rely on spiritual rituals for comfort. She also used them as a source of strength. When faced with difficult decisions or moments of uncertainty, she may have turned to her faith to center herself and find peace. The belief in divine guidance gave her the assurance that, no matter how difficult the situation, she was not alone in her leadership. The gods, particularly Isis, were there to provide wisdom and protection. Spirituality also played a key role in maintaining Cleopatra's mental health. The ancient Egyptians believed in the power of rituals to bring balance and harmony to one's life. And for Cleopatra, these rituals would have been a form of emotional self-care. In the high-stress environment of court life and political intrigue, taking time for prayer and reflection allowed Cleopatra to maintain her calm, to recenter, and to approach her leadership from a place of inner peace. In a world filled with intrigue, betrayal, and shifting allegiances, Cleopatra's faith in the gods helped her maintain her equanimity. Her belief in divine favor gave her the strength to navigate the turbulent waters of leadership, and it was through her spiritual practices that she found the clarity to make wise decisions. Spirituality wasn't just about ceremonial rituals for Cleopatra. It was a foundation for her strength, a source of peace, and a guiding force that helped her stay steady in times of crisis. When it comes to leadership, we often focus on grand strategies, military victories, and diplomatic alliances. But Cleopatra, ever the astute ruler, understood something that many leaders overlook. the power of personal relationships. In a world of shifting loyalties and political intrigue, Cleopatra knew that the connections she maintained with her family, friends, and even her political rivals were key to her strength as a leader. Every morning, as part of her routine, Cleopatra would likely take time to visit those who were important to her, family members, close allies, or perhaps even those who were seen as political enemies. These morning visits were not just ceremonial, they were a way for Cleopatra to foster relationships, reinforce alliances, and ensure the people around her knew they had her support. Whether it was her siblings, her closest advisors, or even rival leaders, Cleopatra knew the value of maintaining strong personal connections. Her family relationships were particularly important. The Ptolemaic dynasty was often plagued by infighting, with siblings sometimes competing for the throne. But Cleopatra managed to navigate these tensions with grace. She knew that a united family was a stronger family, and she worked to maintain bonds with her siblings and relatives, even when political rivalries threatened to tear them apart. By maintaining these relationships, Cleopatra ensured that she had loyal allies within her own household, and that her authority was reinforced by the people closest to her. Beyond family, Cleopatra understood the importance of connecting with her friends and trusted advisors. These early morning visits were a way to ensure that everyone on her team was aligned with her goals. A quick conversation over breakfast or a quiet meeting in the early hours could help her gauge the mood in her court, address any concerns, and ensure that her closest supporters felt valued. She wasn't just a ruler who made decisions from a distance, she was a leader who took the time to connect with the people who mattered most. But perhaps most interestingly, Cleopatra also knew how to maintain relationships with her political rivals and enemies. In a world of shifting alliances, a wise leader knows that even enemies can be useful, whether to gain information, broker deals, or prevent future conflicts. Cleopatra's diplomatic acumen was legendary, and her ability to navigate the complex relationships with her political adversaries likely played a large role in her ability to maintain power. She didn't shy away from these interactions. Instead, she made sure to engage with those who held opposing views, finding ways to keep the lines of communication open. These morning visits, though seemingly simple, were vital in maintaining the delicate web of relationships that Cleopatra depended on to rule effectively. She understood that leadership wasn't just about making bold, sweeping decisions. It was about understanding people, building trust, and ensuring that those around her felt heard and valued. By making these personal connections a priority, Cleopatra ensured that she was not just a figurehead, but a deeply engaged leader. She wasn't just ruling from the top down, she was cultivating a network of support and loyalty from all corners of her world. These early morning visits helped keep her grounded, reinforced her power, and ensured that her leadership was built on a foundation of trust and mutual respect. Cleopatra, the great queen of Egypt, was more than just a political strategist and a powerful ruler. She was a leader who understood the importance of compassion. In a world dominated by military conquests and political power plays, Cleopatra stood out for her deep concern for the well-being of her people. It wasn't just about maintaining power, it was about connecting with her citizens on a human level, showing empathy, and ensuring that their voices were heard. One of the things that set Cleopatra apart from many other rulers of her time was her genuine care for her subjects. While she certainly wielded power with authority, she also knew that a ruler's strength comes from the support of their people, and the best way to earn that support was to show that she understood their struggles, their needs, and their dreams. Whether it was providing aid during times of famine or ensuring the welfare of her people during difficult political times, Cleopatra's compassion made her a beloved figure in Egypt. Her ability to connect with the people didn't just make her popular, it made her respected. Cleopatra understood that true leadership is not about commanding fear, but about commanding respect through understanding and kindness. She regularly showed concern for the poorest in her kingdom, providing them with food, resources, and even protection from the turmoil that often swept through ancient Egypt. By showing this level of empathy, Cleopatra won the hearts of her people, ensuring that her reign wasn't just a time of political strength, but of social stability. It wasn't just the common people who benefited from Cleopatra's compassion. She also demonstrated a deep sense of empathy in her diplomatic dealings. Cleopatra's relationships with other rulers, including Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, were often marked by personal care and attention as much as they were by political strategy. Her ability to connect on an emotional level, to understand the hopes and fears of others, helped her form alliances and secure Egypt's position in the complicated world of Roman politics. Compassion in leadership is often seen as a weakness, but Cleopatra proved otherwise. Her ability to empathize with others made her not only a powerful ruler but a respected and admired one. She understood that true power doesn't come from exerting control over others. It comes from building genuine relationships and creating an atmosphere of trust and mutual respect. When people feel valued and understood, they are more likely to follow a leader with loyalty and dedication. Her empathy also helped her remain calm and clear-headed in times of crisis. Instead of reacting impulsively to the many challenges she faced, Cleopatra would have taken time to consider how her actions would impact the lives of her people. This thoughtful approach, rooted in compassion, allowed her to make decisions that were both strategic and humane. Ultimately, Cleopatra's leadership through compassion was one of the key factors that made her reign successful and enduring. She wasn't just a ruler of Egypt, she was a queen who cared deeply for her people and showed it through her actions. Compassion is not always seen as a traditional form of strength, but in Cleopatra's case, it was a powerful tool that earned her respect, loyalty, and love. And in a world as volatile as the one she ruled, it was that deep connection to her people that ensured her place in history as one of the most admired and respected leaders of all time. After a long day filled with political negotiations, diplomatic meetings, and strategic planning, Cleopatra would have likely ended her evenings in a way that many modern leaders would do well to emulate, with quiet reflection. In the stillness of the night, she would have taken time to evaluate her decisions, review the events of the day, and prepare herself mentally for what was to come. In ancient Egypt, the end of the day wasn't just about winding down, it was about closing the chapter of today to make room for tomorrow. Cleopatra, with all the responsibilities she carried as the ruler of Egypt, understood the importance of this ritual. It wasn't enough to just go to bed and wake up the next morning, ready to conquer the world. She needed to reflect on her actions, her choices, and the people she interacted with to ensure that her leadership was always evolving. We can imagine her sitting in a quiet corner of her palace, perhaps overlooking the Nile as the last rays of sunlight faded into the horizon. The calming sound of the river flowing would have been the perfect backdrop as Cleopatra took time for introspection. She likely pondered the key decisions she'd made that day, what went well, what didn't, and what could be done differently next time. This time for reflection wasn't about regret or self-criticism, it was about learning and growth. Cleopatra understood that every day was an opportunity to become a better leader, to fine-tune her approach, and to be more in tune with her own strengths and weaknesses. Evaluating her decisions, both big and small, helped her gain valuable insights that would inform her actions the next day. It was a practice that kept her grounded, humble, and continuously improving. For a leader like Cleopatra, who was constantly navigating complex political landscapes, this nightly ritual was a crucial form of self-care. It allowed her to clear her mind, reduce stress, and ensure that she wasn't carrying the weight of the day into the night. Instead of letting the challenges of the day linger, she used her reflection time to process, to release, and to mentally prepare for what lay ahead. The practice of reflection also helped Cleopatra stay connected to her vision. Every decision she made wasn't just about the immediate problem, it was about the long-term impact on Egypt. By taking time each evening to evaluate her actions, she could ensure that her choices were always aligned with her broader goals for her kingdom. This self-awareness allowed her to maintain focus, even when the pressures of leadership were overwhelming. Cleopatra's end-of-day routine serves as a reminder to all leaders, ancient or modern, that reflection is an essential part of growth. It's easy to get caught up in the demands of the day, to keep moving from task to task without taking a moment to pause. But by taking time to evaluate your actions and learn from them, you build a foundation for wiser, more thoughtful decisions in the future. In the quiet moments of the evening, Cleopatra's reflection wasn't just about her own self-improvement, it was about her dedication to Egypt. She understood that in order to lead her people effectively, she needed to be in the best possible state of mind, and that came from a consistent practice of reflection, learning, and personal growth. In the whirlwind of ruling an empire, where every day brought new challenges and decisions that could affect the fate of her people, Cleopatra found strength in something that transcended politics and strategy, her spiritual connection to the divine. Each day, before the demands of her kingdom took over, Cleopatra would turn to prayer, seeking guidance and strength from the higher powers she revered. For Cleopatra, daily prayer wasn't just a routine, it was a powerful moment of reflection, humility, and connection. The ancient Egyptians believed deeply in the presence and influence of the gods, and Cleopatra, as both a queen and a living embodiment of the goddess Isis, understood the importance of maintaining a spiritual bond with these divine forces. Her prayer ritual likely began early in the morning, a quiet moment before the noise of court life began. It was her way of grounding herself, seeking clarity, and asking for the wisdom to navigate the complexities of leadership. Through her prayer, Cleopatra would have asked for divine guidance in her most difficult decisions. Whether it was negotiating with powerful foreign leaders like Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, making military strategies, or deciding matters of state, she sought the wisdom of the gods to illuminate her path. She likely petitioned the gods not just for success, but for strength, protection, and a sense of inner peace as she faced the challenges of leadership. These prayers were deeply personal for Cleopatra, a way for her to find a sense of calm and clarity amidst the chaos of her role. But they were also strategic. In a world where the gods were seen as directly influencing the fate of kings and kingdoms, invoking their favor was not just a spiritual act, it was a political one. The people of Egypt, who revered the gods just as much as Cleopatra did, would have seen her connection to the divine as a powerful validation of her rule. If the gods were with her, they might have reasoned, then Cleopatra's leadership was divinely ordained. But prayer was more than just a means of requesting divine intervention. It was also about introspection. Cleopatra's daily prayers likely provided her with moments of quiet reflection, a time to check in with herself and reaffirm her commitment to her people and her kingdom. This spiritual grounding would have helped her maintain a sense of purpose and perspective in a world that was constantly shifting and full of uncertainty. Spirituality played a significant role in Cleopatra's decision-making. The belief that the gods were actively guiding her decisions may have brought her peace in moments of doubt. Knowing that her actions were aligned with divine will could provide a sense of confidence and clarity, especially when faced with difficult political choices. This connection to higher powers allowed her to move forward with a sense of assurance, as though she were not alone in her leadership. In essence, Cleopatra's daily prayer was a source of strength, wisdom, and guidance. It grounded her in the spiritual traditions of her people while also providing the emotional and psychological clarity she needed to lead Egypt through the tumultuous waters of ancient politics. It's a reminder that leadership, no matter how powerful or strategic, is deeply influenced by the personal beliefs and values of the leader. Her prayer practice was a cornerstone of her resilience and her ability to face the challenges of ruling an empire with grace and determination. In a world where uncertainty and conflict were the norm, Cleopatra's connection to the divine was a constant source of stability and inspiration. Cleopatra's mornings weren't just a time for self-care or quiet reflection. They were also the foundation for her brilliant political strategy. In the calm of the early hours, before the demands of court life and the pressures of her empire took over, Cleopatra had the space to think, plan, and prepare. The way she structured her mornings had a profound influence on how she approached the complex world of politics and governance. It's easy to imagine Cleopatra, after her rituals of meditation and reflection, sitting quietly with a scroll or a few key advisors, mulling over the day's pressing issues. With a clear mind and focused energy, her mornings were the perfect time for her to lay the groundwork for her political strategies. Instead of diving straight into the chaos of royal matters, she took her time to assess the state of her kingdom, the shifting alliances around her, and the challenges she might face that day. These early hours were when she could think critically, free from the distractions of the outside world. For Cleopatra, the morning routine wasn't just about preparing for the day, it was about preparing for the long term. Her routine helped her maintain the clarity of mind needed to navigate the shifting political tides. Whether she was dealing with the might of Rome or managing internal Egyptian politics, Cleopatra needed to make decisions that would affect not only her reign, but the future of her people. And it was in the calm of the morning that she could focus on those decisions with a strategic mindset. What's fascinating is how personal habits, like a morning routine, can shape monumental decisions. By grounding herself each morning, Cleopatra allowed herself the mental space to consider all angles of a political situation. She wasn't acting on impulse or rushing into major decisions. Instead, she took time to reflect, analyze, and think ahead. Her mornings gave her the chance to ask the crucial questions. What are the risks involved? What are the benefits? And most importantly, how will this affect Egypt in the long run? Cleopatra's morning routine was not just a reflection of self-care, but a reflection of her leadership style. The routine allowed her to engage in deep strategic thought and approach political decisions with wisdom and foresight. Her ability to make measured, thoughtful choices was one of the reasons she was able to thrive as a leader in such a volatile time. She didn't make decisions in haste. She allowed her mornings to help her align her vision with reality, ensuring that each move she made was part of a larger, well-thought-out plan. In this way, her morning routine wasn't just about preparing her physically or emotionally for the day. It was about giving her the tools to lead effectively. It was a powerful reminder that personal habits and routines can have a profound impact on professional success. The quiet moments of reflection and focus were the bedrock upon which Cleopatra built her political strategies. They gave her the clarity to navigate her complex world, armed with the confidence that her decisions were grounded in careful thought and divine wisdom. Cleopatra understood that strong leadership wasn't just about making big, bold moves. It was about laying the groundwork, considering all options, and taking the time to think strategically. And her morning routine was the key to making those big political decisions with the precision and wisdom she became known for. Cleopatra's charm wasn't just about her striking beauty or her regal presence, though both certainly played their part. The real secret to her charisma lay in the small, thoughtful details and the subtle ways she connected with others. She had an innate ability to inspire, influence, and captivate, but it wasn't magic. It was a set of carefully honed habits and personal traits that made her one of the most magnetic leaders in history. At first glance, it might seem like Cleopatra's charisma was all about her dramatic entrance or the allure of her relationships with powerful men. But dig a little deeper, and you'll find that it was her attentiveness to the people around her, her ability to listen, and her knack for making others feel important that truly set her apart. Her charm wasn't just in how she spoke, it was in how she made others feel seen and heard. Cleopatra paid attention to the small details in her interactions, whether it was remembering someone's name, asking about their family, or understanding their personal goals. These weren't just niceties. They were ways for her to build genuine connections. She knew that people are drawn to leaders who care about them not just as subjects or allies, but as individuals. And Cleopatra excelled in making her interactions feel personal, building trust and loyalty with those around her. Her charisma also came from a deep sense of confidence, but not in a boastful way. Cleopatra had a quiet assurance that came from knowing her own strengths, but also from embracing her vulnerabilities. She didn't put on a facade. What you saw was what you got, and people found that authenticity refreshing. It wasn't about playing a part, it was about being real, and that kind of honesty is magnetic. When a leader feels comfortable in their own skin, it makes others feel comfortable around them too. Beyond her ability to connect with others, Cleopatra's charisma was also tied to her wisdom. She didn't just speak to impress, she spoke with purpose. Her words were measured, meaningful, and often delivered with the perfect balance of charm and authority. It wasn't about dominating the conversation, it was about guiding it. People were drawn to her because they knew that when she spoke, it was worth listening to. She had a way of making complex ideas seem simple and accessible, allowing others to feel like they were part of something bigger. The small, seemingly insignificant habits that Cleopatra incorporated into her daily life, like listening intently or giving sincere compliments, played a huge role in shaping her powerful presence. She didn't rely solely on grand speeches or dramatic gestures. Instead, her charisma grew out of the everyday moments that showed her genuine interest in people and her ability to make everyone feel important, even in the smallest interactions. What's truly remarkable about Cleopatra's charisma is how it influenced those around her. Her ability to inspire wasn't about coercion or manipulation. It was about leadership through respect and understanding. She made people want to follow her because they felt seen, understood, and valued. Whether it was her generals, her advisors, or her allies, Cleopatra's charm drew them in and made them willing to support her with unwavering loyalty. In the end, the secret to Cleopatra's charisma wasn't a single flashy trait. It was the culmination of her attention to detail, her authenticity, her wisdom, and her ability to connect on a personal level. It was a leadership style that made others feel empowered, valued, and motivated to act. The true power of her charm was that it didn't just make people admire her. It made them want to stand by her, fight for her, and follow her into the future. In the grand, unpredictable world of ruling an empire, one might expect Cleopatra to rely on bursts of inspiration or sudden moments of genius to guide her decisions. But instead, her success as a leader wasn't just the result of occasional brilliance. It was built on the power of consistency in her daily habits. Think about it. Every morning, Cleopatra began her day with rituals that grounded her, helping her focus on what mattered most. Whether it was her meditation, reflection, or reading, these daily practices created a sense of routine that allowed her to stay calm, focused, and clear-headed, even in the face of political turmoil. In the ever-changing landscape of ancient Egypt, where alliances shifted and the demands of leadership were relentless, Cleopatra knew that consistency in her habits was key to her success. The beauty of routine lies in its ability to create structure in a world that's often chaotic. Cleopatra's morning routine wasn't just about making her feel good, it was about setting herself up for success. Each habit, from her personal reflection to her physical fitness, was a small but vital piece of the puzzle that kept her moving toward her larger goals. These routines weren't just comforting, they were tools that helped her stay on track, even when the world around her seemed unpredictable. The importance of consistency goes beyond just mental clarity. It's about building momentum. Every day, as Cleopatra followed the same set of practices, she was reinforcing her ability to make decisions with confidence. The more she followed her routine, the more it became ingrained in her, helping her maintain focus on her long-term vision. It wasn't about living in the moment, it was about consistently showing up for herself and her empire day after day, no matter what the circumstances were. For a leader, consistency breeds trust, both self-trust and trust from others. Cleopatra's consistent approach to her leadership and her personal habits made her a stable figure in the eyes of her people and her allies. They knew what to expect from her: calm, strategic thinking, and the ability to make decisions that aligned with her larger goals. In a world full of uncertainty, Cleopatra's consistency was a constant, and that gave people confidence in her leadership. Moreover, by sticking to her routine, Cleopatra didn't have to waste energy on making decisions about how to spend each day. Her habits were already in place, and they gave her the freedom to focus on the bigger picture. She didn't need to worry about whether or not she'd make time for meditation or physical exercise. They were already part of her day, and they helped keep her mind and body sharp. This level of consistency allowed her to be more efficient, making the most of each day's limited hours. The power of consistency in Cleopatra's life shows us why routines are important for any leader. They provide structure, help maintain focus, and allow leaders to stay grounded in their principles no matter the external pressures. By prioritizing her daily habits, Cleopatra ensured that she was always working toward her vision, staying true to her values, and maintaining the energy and clarity needed to lead Egypt through its challenges. In the end, it was this quiet, consistent approach to leadership that allowed Cleopatra to remain one of the most successful and revered leaders in history. It wasn't the occasional burst of brilliance that made her great. It was her unwavering commitment to her daily routines that kept her focused, clear-headed, and always moving forward. Cleopatra's mornings weren't just about waking up and preparing for the day ahead. they were also about preparing for the future. Every morning, she likely took time to plan and strategize, crafting a vision that guided her leadership and kept her focused on the long-term goals of Egypt. In a world full of shifting alliances, military threats, and political intrigue, having a clear vision wasn't just helpful, it was essential. Each day, Cleopatra would take a few moments to reflect on her larger goals. What did she want to achieve for Egypt? How would she secure her kingdom's place on the world stage? What challenges might she face, and how could she navigate them? These early morning moments weren't just about dealing with the immediate concerns of the day. They were about laying the groundwork for the future of her people. Her ability to plan strategically was a key factor in her success as a ruler. It's easy to imagine Cleopatra, seated in the quiet of her chamber, taking a deep breath and visualizing her empire's path forward. In those early hours, she would assess her current situation, her political alliances, her military strength, her diplomatic ties with Rome, and then think about where she wanted Egypt to be in the years to come. A clear vision would have given her the clarity to make decisions that were aligned with her long-term goals, even when faced with difficult or high-pressure situations. One of Cleopatra's greatest strengths was her ability to stay focused on the bigger picture. In times of crisis or uncertainty, it's easy for leaders to get lost in the moment and make decisions based on short-term pressures. But Cleopatra knew that the key to navigating turbulent times was keeping a steady eye on her vision for Egypt's future. When things got chaotic, she could rely on her long-term plans to guide her through. Having a clear vision also helped Cleopatra make tough decisions. When faced with a difficult choice, she could measure her options against her overarching goals for Egypt. Would this decision bring her closer to securing Egypt's independence? Would it strengthen her alliances? Would it safeguard her people's future? This ability to make decisions with the bigger picture in mind allowed Cleopatra to maintain control and consistency in her leadership. Her vision wasn't just about political and military strategy. It was also about the well-being of her people. Cleopatra was deeply invested in the prosperity of Egypt, and her vision included ensuring that her people had access to resources, education, and stability. By thinking ahead and planning for the long term, she could make decisions that would benefit her kingdom for generations to come. Perhaps most importantly, Cleopatra's clear vision allowed her to stay grounded and confident in the face of adversity. When challenges arose, whether they were external threats from Rome or internal political struggles, she could rely on her long-term goals to guide her actions. Her ability to maintain a sense of direction, even in the most difficult of times, made her a resilient leader. In the end, Cleopatra's vision was one of the cornerstones of her leadership. Every morning she laid the foundation for her future actions, keeping her goals and the well-being of her people at the forefront of her mind. It was this clarity of purpose that helped her navigate the complexities of leadership, ensuring that she always had a sense of direction, even when the world around her seemed uncertain. When we think of leadership, it's easy to imagine grand speeches, high-stakes decisions, and the larger-than-life figures who shape history. But as we've seen with Cleopatra, some of the most powerful leaders throughout history have built their success on the smallest of daily habits, routines that kept them grounded, focused, and clear-headed, even in the midst of chaos. Cleopatra's morning rituals weren't just about preparing for the day. They were about setting the tone for her leadership and ensuring that every decision she made was aligned with her larger vision for Egypt. And interestingly, many of the habits that helped Cleopatra succeed are just as relevant to today's leaders. Whether you're at the helm of a nation, running a corporation, or managing a team, there's a lot we can learn from Cleopatra's approach to leadership. One of the most striking aspects of Cleopatra's routine was her commitment to self-reflection. Every morning, she took the time to ground herself, think strategically, and plan ahead. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy for leaders to get caught up in the whirlwind of emails, meetings, and urgent tasks. But taking a step back to reflect on long-term goals, assess decisions, and consider the broader implications of actions is something modern leaders can benefit from as much as Cleopatra did. Leaders who prioritize reflection can make better decisions, stay aligned with their vision, and avoid being swept away by the day-to-day noise. Another key takeaway from Cleopatra's routine is the power of consistency. Her daily habits were a source of stability in an otherwise unpredictable world. Whether it was her physical exercise, her spiritual practices, or her quiet time for reading and reflection, Cleopatra's consistency helped her stay focused on her larger goals. In modern leadership, consistency can be just as important. Leaders who develop and stick to routines, whether it's time for personal development, physical health, or strategic thinking, are better able to manage their energy and keep their priorities straight. It's not about being rigid, it's about building habits that help you stay grounded and focused, no matter what curveballs come your way. Cleopatra also understood the importance of connection, not just with advisors and allies, but with her people. Her routine included time for meaningful interactions with those around her, whether family, friends, or political figures. Modern leaders can learn from her ability to prioritize relationships and create an environment where people feel seen, heard, and valued. Leadership isn't just about being at the top, it's about fostering trust, collaboration, and mutual respect. When leaders make the time for these connections, they can build stronger, more cohesive teams that work together toward a common goal. And let's not forget Cleopatra's clear vision. Every morning she took time to plan her day, but also to think about the future of Egypt. In today's world, having a vision is just as important. Leaders who are able to articulate a clear, compelling vision for the future can inspire others and create a sense of purpose that drives action. Whether it's a company vision or a political platform, a clear vision helps to align decisions, inspire teams, and ensure everyone is moving in the same direction. The beauty of Cleopatra's routine lies in its simplicity and its focus. By sticking to these daily habits, she created a stable foundation for leadership that allowed her to navigate even the most complex political landscapes. Modern leaders, no matter the field, can learn a lot from this approach. Leadership isn't about constantly reacting to crises. It's about preparing yourself each day with the habits and mindset needed to tackle whatever comes your way. In the end, Cleopatra's daily routine was a powerful tool that helped her lead with confidence, clarity, and compassion. And in today's ever-evolving world, the lessons from her morning rituals are more relevant than ever. Whether you're leading a nation or a small team, consistency, reflection, connection, and vision can help shape a leader who is not only effective but truly inspiring. Cleopatra's leadership style didn't just make her a powerful queen. It also had a lasting impact on the way we think about leadership today. Her ability to navigate complex political and social dynamics, maintain influence over powerful men, and keep her kingdom stable during turbulent times offers valuable lessons that still resonate with modern leadership theories. At the heart of Cleopatra's leadership was her deep respect for others. She didn't rule through fear or authoritarian power. She ruled through respect, both for herself and for the people she led. Her ability to inspire loyalty and devotion wasn't based on coercion, but on mutual respect and understanding. She knew that to gain the trust of her advisors, allies, and even her enemies, she had to show respect for their needs, concerns, and ideas. This style of leadership aligns with modern theories that emphasize the importance of building strong relationships and cultivating a culture of trust and respect. One theory that fits Cleopatra's approach is transformational leadership. This style of leadership focuses on inspiring and motivating followers to achieve their highest potential. It's not about being a boss who simply tells people what to do. It's about being a leader who empowers others to believe in themselves and in a common vision. Cleopatra's leadership was a prime example of this. She didn't just impose her will on her people, she inspired them to support her and work together toward a greater goal. Whether it was through her personal charisma, her clear vision for Egypt, or her ability to empathize with others, she transformed the way people viewed their roles and their potential. Another leadership theory that draws from Cleopatra's style is servant leadership. This concept emphasizes the idea that the best leaders are those who serve others, putting the needs of their followers first. Cleopatra's leadership was rooted in a deep understanding of her people's needs and a commitment to their well-being. Her empathy, attention to detail, and willingness to listen made her a leader who genuinely cared about the people she ruled. By focusing on service, she was able to create loyalty and a sense of community among her followers. This aligns perfectly with the modern concept of servant leadership, where leaders prioritize the growth and development of their team over personal ambition or authority. Cleopatra's leadership also embodies the principles of authentic leadership. Authentic leaders are those who lead with integrity, who stay true to their values, and who build genuine connections with others. Cleopatra didn't pretend to be something she wasn't. She embraced her role as both a political leader and a divine figure, and her authenticity was key to her power. She was transparent about her vision, and she led with a sense of inner peace and conviction. This authenticity made her a role model for those around her, and inspired loyalty from both her supporters and those who might have been seen as enemies. In terms of emotional intelligence, EQ, Cleopatra was a master. Emotional intelligence refers to the ability to understand and manage your own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. Cleopatra's high EQ allowed her to build strong relationships, navigate complex political landscapes, and make decisions that took into account both logic and human emotion. She was aware of how people around her felt, and she used this awareness to motivate, persuade, and inspire those she worked with. This ability to connect on an emotional level is a hallmark of great leadership, and is a key element of many leadership theories today. But perhaps the most timeless aspect of Cleopatra's leadership style was her inner peace and self-awareness. She didn't let external chaos or pressure dictate her actions. Instead, she maintained a sense of calm and clarity, allowing her to make decisions based on logic and reason rather than panic or fear. This peace of mind gave her the strength to remain focused on her long-term vision for Egypt, even in the face of immense challenges. Modern leadership theories that emphasize mindfulness, self-reflection, and emotional balance owe a great deal to the way Cleopatra led with a calm and centered mind. In the end, Cleopatra's influence on leadership theories is undeniable. Her respect for others, her transformative approach to leadership, her authenticity, and her ability to lead with emotional intelligence and inner peace offer timeless lessons for modern leaders. She showed that great leadership isn't just about power and control, it's about respect, vision, emotional connection, and the strength of character that comes from within. Cleopatra's leadership wasn't just remarkable because she was a queen. She was a woman leading in a world where power was typically held by men. Yet she didn't just survive in this male-dominated world, she thrived. Her success offers a powerful example of how women can lead with confidence, compassion, and strategy, even in the most challenging of environments. Cleopatra's daily habits were integral to her leadership style. They provided her with the tools she needed to navigate the complexities of ruling Egypt, but they also set an example for women everywhere who aspire to take charge, make decisions, and step into their own power. Her consistency, her ability to plan, her strategic thinking, and her commitment to self-care weren't just the habits of a queen. They were the habits of a leader who understood that true power comes from within. In today's world, many women are still fighting for equal representation in leadership positions, whether in politics, business, or other areas. Cleopatra's approach to leadership shows that it is possible to rise above these challenges, even when the odds are stacked against you. She didn't rely on external validation or traditional norms. Instead, she built her own foundation for success by taking care of her mental, emotional, and physical well-being, cultivating a sense of inner peace, and consistently planning for the future. This routine helped her stay focused on her long-term goals and proved that women can lead effectively, just as decisively and strategically as any man. One of the most important lessons we can learn from Cleopatra is the power of consistency. Women today often face unique challenges in balancing the demands of work, family, and personal life. Cleopatra's daily habits were a way for her to stay grounded and maintain focus, no matter how overwhelming her responsibilities might have seemed. By following consistent routines that included self-care, reflection, and strategic planning, she was able to take control of her day and her destiny. This approach is a model for modern women who can use daily routines to create structure, stay grounded, and ensure that they are always moving toward their goals. Cleopatra's ability to maintain her composure and inner peace in the face of adversity is also a key lesson for women in leadership. In a world that often expects women to be emotionally reactive, Cleopatra shows that power lies in the ability to stay calm, think strategically, and lead with grace. Her emotional intelligence and resilience were key to her success as a leader, and these qualities remain just as important today. Women in leadership roles can look to Cleopatra as an example of how to maintain balance and stay centered, even in high-pressure situations. Perhaps the most inspiring part of Cleopatra's leadership is how she used her unique position to create her own path. She wasn't simply following the lead of others, she was defining her own style of leadership, one that blended intellect, strategy, and empathy. Her ability to navigate political alliances, manage her relationships with powerful figures, and maintain control over her kingdom while balancing personal and public responsibilities speaks to the depth of her leadership. Cleopatra's leadership shows that women can lead with both strength and softness, strategy and empathy. She didn't have to compromise her femininity or her personal values to lead effectively. She embraced all aspects of herself, and that was a major part of her power. Women today can take heart from Cleopatra's example, knowing that leadership doesn't have to fit into a specific mold. It can be uniquely theirs. Her daily routines, rooted in balance, strategy and self-care, remain an inspiring example for women everywhere. Cleopatra's ability to take charge, plan her future, and inspire loyalty in those around her shows that women can and do lead with confidence and success. Cleopatra ruled in an era far removed from ours, yet her leadership style still resonates with us today. There's something timeless about her approach to power, strategy, and governance that continues to captivate the modern imagination. Her story isn't just a historical relic. It's a guide for anyone who seeks to lead with strength, intelligence, and compassion, no matter the challenges they face. What makes Cleopatra's leadership so enduring and relevant in today's world? It's her balance of intellect, charisma, emotional intelligence, and resilience. She wasn't just a ruler who commanded with force. She led with wisdom and understanding. Her leadership wasn't rooted in simply taking control. It was built on the foundation of respect, trust, and a deep awareness of both her people and her allies. In a world that often values short-term success and flashy gestures, Cleopatra's ability to maintain a long-term vision and stay true to her values is something that modern leaders can deeply admire. One of the most compelling aspects of Cleopatra's leadership is her ability to adapt and navigate complex political landscapes. In a world of shifting alliances, shifting power dynamics, and ever-changing challenges, Cleopatra's adaptability was a key factor in her success. Today, leaders in all fields, whether in business, politics, or community leadership, face similar challenges: unpredictable changes, constant decision-making, and the need to navigate complex relationships. Cleopatra's approach to these challenges, building strong, loyal relationships, staying strategic, and remaining calm under pressure, remains a model for modern leadership. Her morning routines, which provided structure and clarity, are as relevant today as they were in her time. In a modern world that often feels like it's moving at a mile a minute, leaders today can look to Cleopatra's daily habits as a blueprint for success. Whether it was her time for meditation, her physical routines to maintain energy, or her moments of reflection and planning, Cleopatra knew the importance of self-care and strategy. Leaders today can learn from her consistency and her ability to stay grounded, focused, and prepared, no matter how chaotic the world around them may be. Moreover, Cleopatra's emotional intelligence is another reason why her leadership continues to inspire. In an era where empathy and understanding are sometimes undervalued, Cleopatra demonstrated that the ability to connect with others on a human level is just as important as any military or political strategy. She didn't rule through fear or manipulation. Instead, she built trust, showed respect, and used her emotional awareness to navigate complex situations. This emotional intelligence enabled her to earn the loyalty of her people and the respect of her allies, something that remains incredibly relevant to today's leaders, who must balance relationships, conflict resolution, and decision-making with empathy and insight. Her charisma and influence over others are also part of what makes her leadership enduringly appealing. Cleopatra knew how to inspire loyalty, motivate others, and maintain a magnetic presence, whether she was dealing with her closest advisors, negotiating with foreign powers, or appealing to her people. Her charisma wasn't just about charm, it was rooted in her ability to connect with others on a meaningful level, to make them feel valued, and to encourage them to work toward a common goal. This ability to inspire and lead by example continues to inspire modern leaders who seek to build strong, cohesive teams based on mutual respect and shared purpose. What's truly remarkable about Cleopatra's legacy is that her leadership wasn't about force or domination. It was about influence, strategy, and a deep commitment to her people. She proved that you don't need to shout the loudest or wield the most power to be a successful leader. Instead, you need to be wise, empathetic, and strategic. You need to stay true to your vision, build relationships, and most importantly, take care of yourself so you can continue to lead with clarity and purpose. In a world that often looks to modern-day leaders for inspiration, it's worth remembering that Cleopatra's leadership still has much to offer. Her daily habits, her emotional intelligence, and her ability to build relationships and lead with vision continue to be an inspiration for leaders across the globe. As the world evolves, Cleopatra's leadership reminds us that true power lies not just in external victories, but in the strength of character, the clarity of purpose, and the commitment to those you lead. As we come to the end of this journey through Cleopatra's remarkable leadership, one thing is clear. Her morning routine was more than just a series of habits. It was a foundational aspect of her success. It wasn't just the physical rituals she followed, but the mental clarity, emotional intelligence, and strategic focus that each moment of her day helped cultivate. In a world that often demands immediate responses and quick fixes, Cleopatra's ability to take the time for self-care, reflection, and planning remains as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. Her morning routine was a blend of mindfulness and action. It started with quiet moments of meditation and reflection, allowing her to center herself before diving into the complex world of governance. She took time for physical exercise, knowing that a strong body supports a strong mind. She dedicated time to reading, learning, and planning, ensuring that her leadership was always grounded in knowledge and foresight. These small but powerful habits helped her stay focused, clear-headed, and ready to make decisions that would shape the future of her kingdom. Cleopatra's daily practices remind us of the importance of consistency. She didn't rely on sporadic bursts of inspiration or last-minute decision-making. Instead, she relied on the steady rhythm of her routine to guide her through the chaos of leadership. Her consistent commitment to self-reflection, personal growth, and strategic planning allowed her to maintain a sense of balance and direction in a world that often felt unpredictable. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the noise and distractions of modern life, but Cleopatra's example shows us the power of slowing down, taking time to reflect, and ensuring that our actions align with our values and long-term vision. The true timelessness of Cleopatra's morning routine lies not just in the practices themselves, but in the mindset they helped cultivate. It was her ability to take charge of her day, stay focused on her goals, and lead with both wisdom and compassion that made her a lasting symbol of strong leadership. Her routine was a tool that allowed her to show up as her best self every day, ready to face whatever challenges came her way, while staying true to her purpose. So, what can we learn from Cleopatra's morning routine? It's an invitation to reflect on our own habits and routines. Are we taking the time to nurture our bodies and minds? Are we setting aside moments of quiet reflection to align our actions with our values? Do we prioritize consistency and clarity in our leadership, as Cleopatra did? Leadership isn't about always being on or constantly reacting to external pressures. It's about creating the space to think, plan, and grow. Cleopatra's routine was a practice in building resilience, confidence, and focus. And while the world has changed since her time, the principles behind her approach remain powerful. Taking time to care for ourselves, reflect on our purpose, and plan for the future is just as crucial today as it was for Cleopatra thousands of years ago. Cleopatra's morning routine wasn't just a set of habits, it was the foundation of her leadership. And in that sense, her legacy continues to inspire, reminding us that strong, purposeful leadership begins with the small, intentional steps we take every day.